What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your Brewmaster-in-Chief. And tonight, in the BrewLab, I am coming at you with the latest edition of Mono Red. Mono Red updated for the current standard. And believe it or not, lots of new cards. And kind of changes completely the way that you win. It's really much funner for me than Godric and that. I was, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, essentially 0 new cards for Mono Red. Like, really, 0 new cards for Mono Red. We had a lot in Eldraine, Wilds of Eldraine, where we had the all of the celebration stuff, Godric, the Charming Scoundrel or whatever, we had some stuff for Mono Red from that set, but now it's been like a whole entire set in the middle where Mono Red has just been the same. Now, Murders of Karlov Manor has really changed things up. It ends up having completely different play patterns and feel, and so therefore it is time for me to show you the latest version. So without further ado, let's jump into tonight's brew. Simply called Pyrotechnics. And if you haven't guessed already, that is because we're playing a full playset of the new Pyrotechnic Performer. An interesting card, this, and one which is going to make an appearance in a couple of brews over the next couple of videos, because I'm going to also be looking a bit harder at the disguise mechanic, and this is definitely one of the nice payoffs. So it's a 2-mana 3/2 that you could play on turn 2 if you really must. But it doesn't have haste, such as the Fugitive Codebreaker and most of the rest of the usual cards from Mono Red. So what you really want to be doing is casting it on turn 3 for its disguise. Disguising it on turn 3, which costs 3 colorless. So you disguise it on 3, comes face down as a 2/2 with Ward 2, as you know. And then the good thing here is that the cost to turn it up again is very low. It's just 1 red mana. So whenever Pyrotechnic Performer or another creature you control is turned face up, that creature deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So maybe if we buff up the Pyrotechnic Performer with Monstrous Rage, when you turn it face up, now do you see where we're going here? So, really, the main change is the 3 drops are gone, which means there's less mana. We've gone down to 22. Could definitely go down to 21. We may still do so. And we're just all on the cheap end here. Like, way more than I don't usually play the chicks in my deck. Now, I've been deciding if I want to play the chicks, I'm going to go for the 3/1 split with the Shivan Devastator as a 1-of, because I always love just top-decking this in the late game and fireball to the dome. The rest we know here in the 1-drop slot, so I don't need to go over everything again. Let's talk about the Fugitive Codebreaker briefly. It is another card with disguise. The cost gets reduced by each sorcery and instant in your graveyard. We do have quite a few of those, so at some point later in the game, you can top deck one of these, disguise it, and then flip it on the cheap, and then you get to draw 3 cards, which is pretty nice, because usually with Mono Red, at that point in a match, you have nothing to discard, so you're just essentially drawing 3 cards, and that's pretty nice. And of course, it's a creature that's turning face up, so it'll also trigger the Pyrotechnic Performer. And of course, don't forget, if you have multiple copies of Pyrotechnic Performer on the battlefield, then they all trigger, right? So I've had some ridiculous turns, and the nice thing is, having it down on the board disguised, then you can, when the opponent casts the inevitable Sunfall, you can still just flip it whilst the Sunfall is on the stack, and at the very least do 3 damage to face, which ends up just being essentially like another lightning strike. So, I mean, it seems underwhelming, guys, but I promise you, I've been shredding the ladder with this. I'll show you some stats at the end. And the other key new addition that really helps this whole thing along is the case of the Crimson Pulse. A card that I think went below most people's radars in the spoiler season. I did not do spoiler content for this set because I was on holiday, but the people that I watched were all saying, oh, it's too slow. If you're playing this in Mono Red, on turn 3, you'd rather play a Godric, yada, yada, yada. Yes, those are all valid points, but if you're trying to go lower to the ground and you need card advantage, which Mono Red struggles with, This is freaking amazing. When you, not only you get to like cycle away some of your unnecessary cards when it enters the battlefield and draw 2 more, which is just great. It's also an enchantment, so it triggers your prowess guys, which is also great. But then it's easy to solve it in a deck like this because we've got all of these cheap creatures. So we just cast all of our stuff, boop, 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 and then it is solved when you have no cards left in hand. At that point, at the beginning of your upkeep, you discard your hand and draw 2 cards, but you got nothing to discard. So you're basically drawing your, you're drawing 2 cards, and then you draw your main card for your draw step. So you essentially get 3 new cards every turn. In a mono red deck, that's exactly what you want. You're going to be drawing a Monstrous Rage, a Phoenix Chick, a Lightning Strike. It's always just gas, and it was already almost always gas in mono red because everything has haste, everything's a burn spell. But now you're getting 3 things with gas. It's been broken, like just so ridiculous. There is one thing that I need to point out before we jump into the gameplay footage, that if you have multiple copies of Crimson Pulse solved on the battlefield, one will trigger first and then the other, they'll be on the stack, and then you'll draw your 2 cards off of the one, and then you'll be forced to discard them right away. So put it into full control and put a stop on your upkeep so that you can actually perhaps cast the 2 that are drawn off of the first one at instant speed, and then they don't just get wasted and thrown in the graveyard. But honestly, the ideal amount of Crimson Pulses is 1 on the battlefield. You don't really want to. That's really all I have to say about it. Which is, that's why I've got 3 instead of 4. And 3 copies of Witchstalker's Witchstalker's Frenzy to deal with Sheldreds and whatnot, and the rest we all know and love. So that is, mono red, also known as RDW. Updated for Murders at Karlov Manor standard. And that is it. Let's jump into some games. Cool to have. This one's looking promising also. Stay tuned. Boros light or RDW-ish. Stay tuned. But I really want to look into this disguise mechanic. I've got this Gruul one with those of you who know your set properly will have recognized the card on the deck box. Some interesting stuff going on there, like as if that Gruul heroic deck or whatever you want to call it with all of the combat tricks wasn't good enough already. I've done already the budget version, the updated budget version, and now we've got like just this like ridiculous version. And unfortunately, the Mole God doesn't really feature. Mole God ended up being kind of IMO. I know a lot of other content creators will tell you differently, but I don't know. I just never seem to get it to work. I tried even copying, CGB's decks and things, and it just never really quite popped off. Ooh. Phyrexian, huh? Phyrexian. Okay. Interesting. Perfect. So we put the Monstrous Rage there, so the trample still gets through, and then I don't have to use the Play with Fire. Because we're going to play the Case next turn. I guess I'd rather discard... Oof, down to 5. I'd rather discard Sokenzan and play the Mishra's Foundry. In case we run into a sweeper, then we can still attack with our man's land. Perfection. Mono red is disgusting. Can't wait to see like the updated best of 3 version. Bunny corn. Okay, the case is solved. Let's put 1 here. You know what? Like 1 here. Come on. There we go. And now we just win. Bye. Why Phyrexian? That's the only question mark I have. We didn't get to see the solved case go off, but there we go. I mean, I complain about it a lot because I play it against it so much. Now there's a different, you know, you're seeing different cards at least. What blows my mind is when I go onto, you know, Ether Hub and Untapped, and even in Mythic, and you look at the top, you know, Mono Red is still in the top 2. But when you actually click and look at the deck lists, it's still just the old one, Godric and whatnot. No one's playing these new cards. No one's playing the case. If you're a Mono Red lover, please take this from your Brewmaster in Chief. You need to be playing some of these new cards. Like Pyrotechnic Performer is ridiculously good. Codebreaker. Why wouldn't you just replace, you know, what's his name? Felden. Like it's great. Another prowess, hasty 2-drop. Like, what more do you want? Maybe they're just lacking. If it's the bat, he'll take the Witchstalker's Frenzy, and that doesn't really bother me too much. Okay, so it's probably just a counter spell. Have to get it. Ooh. Wow, nice. Maybe it's the deck with the looting. Okay, Liliana's fine because we have Kumano. And now we can disguise the Performer. I guess I could have gone face, but whatever. Hope it's Sheldred. Okay. Please remove it. We've got Sokenzan. Trust me, play this card. And like, we could definitely even make another version of this where we go more heavily on, you know, Monstrous Rage type of effects. There's a new one that also gives haste and makes a little 2/2 knight when you get through for damage, which is also pretty ridiculous. So, and you know, there's that 2-mana one called like, which even gives you a little bit of card advantage. Like, we could definitely make like just a full-on Pyrotechnics mono red flippy deck. But I think the Gruul version of that type of a deck where it's all about combat tricks like that is the one that's been working best for me so far. But I've definitely run into the mono red opponent that's trying to do what I just said with the mono red in the past, and now you just got another great target for all of those pump spells. So yeah, you know what? Bye. I'm so sick of this deck already. It's crazy town how sick I am of it. They always just deserve the snoozy face, because now it's just going to be Convoke out a freaking 4/4 on turn 3 or whatever. Okay, this is the slightly slower version, so let's see if we can race him. It's 4 damage next turn. We go like this. I think it's just a better option for now. I mean, the fact that this also gives +1/+1 is just ridiculous. This is also such a nice play on top of a War Leader's Call. Ouch. Okay, no swings. But I love to see. Um, 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 um. We obviously go face. Great. Just gonna... That's just great, honestly. Oh, hurts, man. This card is so sick. I mean, what is there not to love? Oh. Okay. Now we're into, like, find... Oof. I'm willing to let one more through. You whiffed. You whiffed and you found nothing. Of course you didn't. Oh well, that's gonna be the game. Freaking top deck of the century. No, that was not a good game. It's about as lame as it gets. Honestly. Yeah, hello. So close. So close. Any other top deck, we would have slapped him. Imodane Recruiter. Oh, I mean, this is the new top dog in the meta. There's nothing much you can do. It's freaking busted. Came first place at the Pizza Box Open, 108 players or something like that, like just the other day. And I'm not surprised. I cannot, like, the thing that's really bothering me is there's a big Pro Tour event coming up soon, and it's Pioneer and Draft. Even Fire Shoes on Twitter was like, is it too late to change the Pro Tour to Standard? Pioneer is going to be so dull to watch. Standard is where it's at right now. Like, there's a lot of new decks, things happening. We're just going to have to wait until the next Pro Tour to see, you know, what happens. But there's other tournaments where we get to see the new meta in action. And Boros Convoke just, like I said, just destroyed the Pizza Box Open. I watched some of that footage. It was glorious. Okay, so probably just the Bulgari roots thing. It would be nice if we had on top deck a freaking another land in a 22 land deck, you know? It's just pathetic. Alright, maybe it's just mono black. Why would you play this though? I'm expecting a Virtue now. Oh, that. Lol. Wow. Thank goodness for the scry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands in the top 10 in a 22 land deck. Get freaking stuffed, mate. Now we get to showcase, because you know we've got 3 instants and sorceries in the yard, which means This will only cost 2 to flip. Which I will do. I'm not getting the Snarling Gorehound, honestly. But the draw 3, as long as this face down card survives this turn, I feel like we're gonna win. And he can't attack, so yeah, I can block with the Mishras, yada yada. Let's do this first. Because if, you know... Now we have the 3 creatures. And we can bring back the chick. Another one of these effects, like as if we didn't have enough of them already. Play the Foundry, flip the Codebreaker. We will sacrifice. Let's see if he pluses. Yeah. You're welcome to attack if you want. He's thinking, oh, I can still block, right? It's 2 to turn on a Foundry. It's only a 2/2 on blocks. It can only get buffed on attacks. Maybe he's got a removal. No. I didn't want to discard. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Mono red sometimes can just be so ridiculous. So there we go. I mean, the only card in the deck that's new that we haven't gotten to see in full proper action is the Case. But we just saw exactly why this is great in the late game. We had a very floody hand, so we had plenty of mana. Suddenly, like top decking one of these is amazing because you have the mana to flip it, and you just like get a nice little refill. I mean, 3 cards is a lot for mono red, and it's just another card in the deck alongside the Case that just adds so much card advantage to a deck that just needs to find their one more play with fire, their one more lightning strike to win. That it, I think, makes it just even better than it ever was with Godric. Like I've been loving playing this version much more than the Godric version, and I think we're just gonna have to leave it at that, unfortunately, guys, because I have to get to work. So a shorter video tonight, but again, like mono red is like the majority of the cards are old. There isn't anything like crazy that I have to explain or that you need to learn. It just plays very much like the old one, but we've got some great new tools in the Fugitive Codebreaker and the Pyrotechnic Performer. So now we will fill the last few minutes with some statistics, and then we'll call it a night. Voila! 64%, 18 for 10. Could have been a little better, but honestly, the early versions was when I did most of my losing. Had a nice 6 for 3 run here. We had a 3-in-1 run now on camera. Was that the last match? Yeah, spoiled boy. So could have been a little better, but the earlier versions, I've been tinkering a little bit. Where is it? Removing mountains. I had some trouble with mana. I brought in the Devastator. I don't know, whatever the case might be. I think we should really start to look at the win rates from here up. So a 6-3 run, a 5-3 run, and then a 3-1 run. It's still just doing its thing, as always. Mono red. Yeah. Disgusting, I know. But I'll make it visible for you guys to go copy and enjoy. Of course, as you know, as always, the links to all of the places I share my lists are down there in the description. You will be able to find also at the top of those links, mtgsearch.it, which I am partnered with. I highly recommend you check out. It is a fantastic resource if you like to play Magic, paper or digital. And that is going to have to be it for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all in the next one with another fresh brew. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab signing out. Peace, y'all.